Hey lovely people, I'm Cameron. Welcome to today's video and to the channel. I'm so happy you're here today. First things first, gonna get it out of the way. If you're here and you're not subscribed, please take a moment to think about it. And to do so because it's a little tiny thing that you can do to help your girl out, to help grow this little tiny baby channel. It means a lot. Thank you. Alright, moving on. What are we talking about today? You read it in the title. We're walking through my first impressions of Glossier's latest skincare product, their Priming Moisturizer Balance. To date, most of Glossier's product line has been geared toward providing this really juicy, dewy skin look and feel, and that's really beautiful. I think that's what a lot of people are looking for, but it doesn't necessarily cater to our combo and oily prone skin peeps. So this product has been an answer to a lot of those people's prayers, and I'm ready to walk through my thoughts and feelings on it, especially as a person who has more combination to oily skin, and we'll see based on first looks how we feel about it. I also really quickly want to mention the difference between a review and a first impressions. I was actually just watching a video that clarified this, so allow me. More often than not, a product review for skincare, let's say specifically, is something that requires a certain amount of lead time actually using the product and really testing the efficacy over that period of time to see how it works on your skin, how your skin likes it, and what your overall feelings about it are. So this is something that I would want to have at least a month or two's experience using before I can tell you how I like it, what it did to my skin, and if I would recommend it. That's not what this video is. This is my first impressions. So first impression, think if you were to walk into the store. Let's all for a moment pretend that we're at a Glossier store. Let's just pick the Glossier LA store. Let's do one of those little Dorothy Wizard of Oz heel clicks right now. There's no place like Glossier. Okay, you're there with me, right? We're here. Imagine we're there, everything's out on display. This is if you were to walk into that store and you were to see this product for the first time. You see her in her cute little packaging. That already is part of your first impression. Is it something that looks good, that I want to pick up, that I want to try? And obviously we take into account the reviews of other people that we know and trust and other people's experience, but ultimately it's up to us to actually make the purchase or to pick up the product and test it. So first impression is really focusing on your senses, that sensory experience, how it feels, how it looks, how it smells, all of those things that lead you to the point where you're like, this is something that I want to take home. This is the first time that I'm opening this cap, that I will be pumping this pump, and I want to walk you through all of that. So one last thing before we actually get to the first impression. I just want to take a really quick look at the two moisturizers that existed before this Priming Moisturizer Balance, what they were about, what most people have to say about them or what they actually do, and how and why this third one, this Priming Moisturizer Balance, is answering a prayer and a call that was not answered for quite a few years. But we're happy she's here. First up is the original Priming Moisturizer. Weighing in at 1.7 fluid ounces. Side note, all of these priming moisturizers, including the new one, is 1.7 ounces. They all are the same amount of product, different prices. She's $22 and is labeled as a hydrating, buildable cream that makes skin glowy and fresh. I've actually used this moisturizer pretty consistently in my routine throughout the years. I really enjoy it for the fact that it is in fact buildable, so you can use a little bit during the day and build it up at night, especially if you prefer more lightweight textures to like thicker creams. Just a few of the key ingredients for the original priming moisturizer. We've got hyaluronic acid, which a lot of us know is really good for attracting and maintaining extra moisture into the skin. It's got an antioxidant blend of, I think, vitamins A, C, and E. Antioxidants are great for a lot of things, but ultimately for skin protection, it helps prevent any skin damage, especially from sun damage. And it also has an anti-redness complex. That's something that I think is really important about the priming moisturizer. So it also helps to fight redness while adding hydration, which is a nice little bonus. So this is something that I'd recommend for people who have pretty normal skin or prefer more of a lightweight texture, even if you have more dry skin. Speaking of dry skin, meet Priming Moisturizer Rich. This is Glossier's Ultra Rich Buttery Moisturizer. Again, 1.7 ounces for $35. It's also got a pretty great mixture of ceramides and oils. Think rich fatty acids and oils that help to not only hydrate the skin, but also protect it and keep a really nice barrier that holds all of that moisture in. It's got some creamy shea butter mixed with some muru butter. Muru. Say that times 5 times fast. Muru butter, which is a little bit harder, so they mix the two together, so it's almost got this like melted buttery texture to it. And ultimately it's got lavender essential oil, which is known for its calming properties, not only for the skin but also just mind, body, and spirit. Something about this though, my skin doesn't quite like. I don't break out, but I tend to get little tiny bumps, just like a little bit of a reaction from it. So unfortunately, she's not my favorite. Comes in a jar, not my favorite, just not the most hygienic, and I don't like having stuff all over my fingers. Although it's not necessarily the one for me and my skin, maybe it's just a little bit too heavy. A lot of people love it, and a lot of makeup artists like to use it under makeup because of the rich, dewy texture that it leaves behind without looking too greasy, but also providing that long-term moisture for the skin. It just looks really beautiful under makeup and on its own. It's got the most decadent texture. It is very luxurious feeling, and I do think packaging and texture-wise, maybe some ingredients, that's why it's one of the more highly priced items, the $35 price point. I definitely recommend Priming Moisturizer Rich if you lean more on the dry side of things, or if you're maybe more in the middle and just like to have more of a glow, this will get the job done for you. So given those two existing options and seeing the finish and the texture that they both have, you may be able to tell that there's still a group of people, again, that I mentioned in the beginning, the more oily prone skin people that don't necessarily want a lot of shine left behind, even if it starts out minimally, because as you go throughout the day, your natural oils will come through and you just have a lot of oil that you need to manage, and that's not always what we want to do with our day, you know? We got other things to do. So people have been looking for and requesting something even more lightweight than the original priming moisturizer, and something that just doesn't leave behind much texture or shine. Something that just hydrates but lets you go about your day without having to think about powder or anything like that. And that's where supposedly she comes in. Priming Moisturizer Balance is an oil control gel cream coming in at 1.7 fluid ounces for 25 doll hairs. To really revel in this moment together, to share this experience, and to make this real and raw, I'm actually going to put it on my face. I think that's what you expected. Ta-da! That's why I'm not wearing foundation. I just want to show you what it's actually like and what it actually feels, and we'll talk about it. I'm going to start with just one pump. As my skin gets more oily, especially in the summertime, I try to focus my moisturizer mainly where I need it, where I will start to feel tight or dry if I don't have anything on, or if it's like first thing in the morning. And then I just use whatever is left and put it all over the place, because I don't need moisture everywhere, knowing that my natural oils are going to do their thing. Up close and personal now, and it's probably been like 20 seconds, it's fully absorbed into my skin. It has a light velvety finish, and I'm here for it. I'm actually going to take a little bit more and put it right in my T-zone, because this is where I tend to get the most oily. And if this says what it does, does what it says it does. Words, man. If this does what it says it does, then this will actually help prevent and take away the shine that I get there. And it kind of did. Right off the bat, first thoughts, love the packaging. I will always prefer a pump over a squeeze bottle, over a jar, anything like that. So that's why Priming Moisturizer and Priming Moisturizer Rich have a negative mark in my book. I also like the way it feels for all my tactile people out there. It's a nice, smooth, not necessarily matte plastic. It's smooth and kind of silky, and it also has enough hold so that as you use the product up, it's still going to retain shape without necessarily going full, you know what I mean? It still might, but I like that it's not going to get too crumply. Crumply, I don't know if that's a word. It's not going to get creases in the side. It's definitely going to hold up well, and the lid seems to stay on nicely. Also, a really big win in my book is that it's fragrance free. You'll know that for Priming Moisturizer Rich, since it has that essential oil, the lavender scent, it is scented. It does feel like you're in a spa. I just don't think that scent necessarily belongs in skincare all the time. It just makes me feel like it's one less ingredient and one less thing that I have to worry about potentially bothering my skin. So it gets a plus from me. As it's dried on my hands, I can tell that it has a little bit of a leftover texture. Like, I feel like I want to wash my hands, and then maybe just because I'm a little bit warm. However, just something to keep in mind. It doesn't necessarily, it might absorb more into the face, more into the pores of the face than it does onto your hands. So just keep that in mind. It really did absorb really nicely into the skin, and it leaves a really smooth finish. So I know that if I were to put makeup on top, it would glide really well, and I think that's the beauty of the Priming Moisturizer line in general. My understanding of the priming and priming moisturizer is not that it means the primer that we're used to that makes our skin super smooth and that fills in pores and creates a really silky canvas. What it does is bring your skin to its prime. So the ingredients in it, the skincare element, will help to take care of whatever your skincare concerns are, and then your skin is left at its prime, whether you were to choose to put makeup on top or just leave it as it is. This balance formula though feels actually the closest to a real primer. So it's got that more dry texture. It actually does have pore refining ingredients in it, so it helps refine the look of pores and kind of smooth the look and feel of everything while helping to control oil. And I think this will give the most primer-like finish compared to the other two, which will give you a lot more of a dewy, juicy finish. A quick key ingredient check: it's got a marine algae extract, niacinamide, and willow bark extract. It's got bamboo. All of those ingredients more or less tend to focus on smoothing out the skin, mattifying, and refining pores, which is great because that's what most combo oily people are looking for. When I'm using a product that's a little more on the matte side, whether it's skincare or makeup, I like to give it a few seconds to a minute for it to really sink in, see how my skin likes it, and then do the scrunch test. I don't know if you do this, but it's kind of where you do facial acrobatics to see how it actually feels on the skin. So join me. Looks slightly ridiculous, but ultimately there's a purpose. How does it actually feel on the skin? Does it feel like there's something pulling my skin tight and taut and shrinking my pores, or does it just feel like my face? So I can tell you right now, it feels like my face. A little bit on my forehead area. Does it feel slightly tight? Like, am I just noticing that there's some resistance there? But I also might have just applied a lot, especially on top of oily skin. However, it doesn't feel gross. That's important. A bonus that I quickly want to make mention of is actually just partly the ingredients list. Really just starting at the top. I'm not going through the whole thing with you, but I like that it starts with the first ingredient as water and the second is glycerin. Those are humectant ingredients, basically meaning that they're going to absorb quickly into the skin and help attract and hold on to any other moisture that you were to put on top, as opposed to something thicker like an oil or a butter that helps to hydrate but blocks anything else that you put on top. So that's why you want to save those for last, but we'll talk about that in another video. All in all, especially with my experience with the previous two moisturizers over the last few years, I gotta say this is at least worth trying. I do recommend trying it. Now, I don't have a full few weeks to month or 2 months of time actually using this, so I don't think you need to go and like run to Glossier.com and buy it. However, if it's something you're considering, based on my first impression and based on what I look for, and I try to be pretty discerning about skincare, especially if you're like me and you've tried other lightweight moisturizers, especially like gel formulas, they sometimes leave this texture on top that just feels sticky and gross. You want something that truly disappears. So far, this feels pretty good. My skin is also pretty sensitive, so I try not to just put anything on it, so that's why I'm pretty discerning about the type of stuff that I put on my face, even if it's just for a first impression video walkthrough thing with you guys, because I've had my fair share of experiences putting something on and instantly or within a few minutes my skin is red, it's itchy, it's hot, and so far we're not there yet, so that's good. You can tell that as time goes on, my natural oils start to come through a little bit, and I'm not mad at that. What I look for in an oil control product, specifically a moisturizer, is just something that's not going to add shine or oil in the first place. It's okay if my natural oils come through because that's just natural. But if it's something that is already kind of greasy, then it's not going to do it for me. I think if it's overly mattifying and I feel dry and tight and just dull, then that takes away the purpose, and I like my skin to look like skin and like it's alive, just without going crazy glistening, you know? Alright, I think I've said everything that I need to say. I felt all the things I needed to feel, but if there's anything that you were looking to get from this first impressions that I maybe didn't cover, please join me down there. Let me know what you're thinking. But that's it for today, y'all. I so appreciate it. Thank you as always for joining me. It really is such a pleasure. If you haven't already, please just think about it. Subscribe, because we're friends, because we're buddies. I appreciate it. Thank you. Also, just let me know if you're actually down to try the Glossier Priming Moisturizer Balance. If it's something that you maybe have actually recently picked up, or if you've used other Glossier skincare in the past and what your real thoughts are about it. We can all be honest here. It's okay. This is a safe space. Or if you like the other priming moisturizers, the original and the rich, just let me know your thoughts on it all, maybe how you think it all will compare, or if you have other moisturizers as specifically a combo oily skin person, what you like and what about them works best for you. Let's have that conversation down in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care, be well. Love you so much. Bye.